Most football manager saves are rebuilds, but in this one, we're doing the opposite. We are setting out to destroy Man City by ruining their finances and getting them relegated from the Premier League. And we have to do all of this without getting fired. This is Destroying Man City, a football manager anti-save. This is the beginning of season 5 of Destroying Man City. Last season, season 4, we did annoyingly well, finishing second in the league and winning the FA Cup. That is our first trophy that we've won in a while, so we've done a good job of not winning trophies. And after the first season in the league, which we won when we had an amazing squad, after that, we've kind of steadily gotten worse. We certainly haven't been a great side. We've just been kind of in the Champions League places. So overall, we've done a good job of preventing City from winning the league. But more importantly, we have continuously been in the red and our financial status at the club continues to be in debt. We are currently over £500 million in the red, and we have tons and tons of bank loans. Most recently, we've had a £1.73 billion bank loan, a £416 million bank loan, and a £563 million bank line. So hopefully we'll be paying back net debt and transfer debt for years and years to come. That does mean, however, that at the beginning of season 5, we essentially don't have a transfer budget and we don't have any payroll to work with. So we can't really change anything at this point. We're just continuing on with what we've been doing. And what we've been doing is overpaying our 102 staff members. My assistant coach is making £1 million per week. Our head of youth development is making £1 million per week. Our head performance analyst is making £650 per week, so on and so forth, to our physio, who's making £775,000 per week. We're also continuously getting a worse and worse squad composition. As you can see here, most of our players are over the age of 30, so we have a lot of old players, which is exactly what we want. And for our players of higher ability, I mean, Oscar Bob right now is one of our best players. He's 4.5 stars. He's not that good. We obviously still have Phil Foden, who's brilliant. Rico Lewis is really good. But we have a lot of mid players now. Our team is getting progressively worse. Those older players, as you guys can see here, those older players who were once brilliant, Kevin De Bruyne is slow now. His pace is not. He is not that good. Antonio Rudiger, pace is 12. Look at all those downward arrows. Continuing on, looking at someone like Ederson, he's 34 actually. He's still pretty good for a goalkeeper. But Mateo Kovacic, kind of, he's no good. John Stones, he's getting old. That pace is deteriorating. We're seeing a bunch of downward arrows. And look at all these guys. They are vastly overpaid. Hugely overpaid. So our squad composition is getting to the point of where we wanted it, of just kind of an average team with a ton of old players. So squad composition is good. Finances are good. We're in June of 2027, essentially at the end of season 4 and the beginning of season 5. So I'm going to continue forward to essentially the end of the preseason here to tell you guys what I did during season 5's preseason. But I don't really have a plan at this point. It's just keep on keeping on. Where we've got the right things going, we need to just continue with what we're doing. So this was the weirdest preseason we've ever had. We're currently on the 29th of August for some very specific reasons that I'm going to talk about. But we got some money. The board just keep providing these cash injections. And something very interesting happened. We went from not having a transfer budget to me now having spent £417 million. We did have some help. We sold Bernardo Silva for £15 million. I was pretty happy with that because we sold him for only £15 million. And Bernardo Silva's pretty good, so it was fine getting rid of him. And then we sold Savio for £60 million. Savio was actually pretty good, and I was worried about him being a young, good player. So I didn't mind selling him to Liverpool, one of our direct rivals, for £60 million, because that also allowed us to spend some serious cash. But somehow, the board gave us this huge cash injection essentially at the beginning of August, and I spent a lot of money. We were able to spend a lot of money. And as you can see here, that worked really well. We're in huge losses for overall balance and stuff, which I'll get into that in a bit. But let's talk about who we've signed here. So first up, we've signed Ben Doak here. He's already listed. I'll tell you why in a minute. We signed Ben Doak for £90 million from Liverpool. Ben Doak is a two-star player. He isn't good at all. We've spent £90 million on him. This is the definition of signing an average player. After that, I needed a goalkeeper, so we signed Lucas Chevalier, who again, he's 2.5 stars. He's just okay. I've spent £35 million on a mid player. After that, I needed an English player, so we spent £78 million on Ben White, who is now transfer listed. Again, I'll explain why in a little bit. But yeah, we've 2.5 star player who we've spent £78 million on, and we've given a ridiculous contract to. All of the contracts, by the way, are going to look like this, with huge bonuses everywhere. I'll show you the Ben Doak one as well. We're giving them all kinds of bonuses as long as we avoid relegation, do kind of minimally in the FA Cup and Carabao Cup, and if they do literally anything, they're going to make so much money. But we needed English players, so we signed Morgan Gibbs-White. We signed Ezri Konsa for 60 million. I don't even think Ezri Konsa is that good in game, but he's another player who we're giving bonuses to just if the squad does well. We've brought back Aymeric Laporte. He is 34 years old, so we're just signing an old mid player, but of high reputation. We've signed him for £12.5 million. We've given him a nice big salary and a nice bonuses going through there. Moving forward, we've signed Ivan Martin. Again, just an average 2.5 star player who we've signed for £53 million. Moving forward, Asan Diao, some young guy who I don't think is actually that good, but he's only 3 stars. We've signed him for £70 million and given him all kinds of huge bonuses as well. We signed Max Alain on a free. I think the reason I signed him is just because I needed to spend some money, and I thought maybe in our youth team we could get some players who we could give some nice bonuses to. I think I did the same thing here for Arneu Pradas, exact same thing, just some nice bonuses for a youth team player. We did the same thing for pretty much all of these young guys here. Jakub Stolarczyk, I think I needed a backup goalkeeper, but again, we're giving him some nice stuff there. We signed Matt Carroll on a free. He's just some regen who we're going to give huge bonuses to. Keeping going down. Martin White, we signed, again, just kind of a random player who we're going to give huge bonuses to. Tommy Setford, I signed him on loan because we needed a goalkeeper, but we're paying some solid salary on him. And then Adrian Klein, again, just kind of signing young players who we can give bonuses to. So yeah, the board put in some cash, and that allowed us to spend £417 million. So we have spent a lot of money, and that is brilliant because looking at our finances, it has allowed us to go into serious debt. We failed FFP and we failed Champions League, and if we look at the debts, we're almost £1.5 billion here in net debt. And that has led to something amazing. And that something amazing is we are in administration. We've done it. We've put Man City in administration. After 5 seasons, we have pulled off the impossible and put Man City into administration. Receivers have been brought in to deal with financial problems at Man City. All transfer funding has been withdrawn, and the receivers have indicated they will consider any reasonable transfers offers made for club's players. This means that in our £1.5 billion in debt, we now have a transfer embargo. So we just signed all those players because for some reason the board gave us money. I can't sign anybody anymore. If I go to the finances here, yeah, we have no transfer budget or anything, so I can't sign anything. And the amazing thing is, because we're in administration, we've been docked 9 points. The bad thing about being docked 9 points is, though, we've actually done good this season. We won the Community Shield on pens, and then We beat Liverpool 4-0 at home, and we've won literally every match. But that means we are now in 15th place because we've been docked 9 points and we had 4 wins. So we went from 12 points to 3 points. But it's sort of a weird position to be in because I need to keep my job. We can't get fired. Like that's the whole point of this save is that I can't get fired. Looking at the club vision, we still need to find a way to get into the Champions League with how we're doing. We need to make sure my job security is okay. So we're in this weird position where the club are in administration, but I still need to do good. But it's good because the club are in administration because we've destroyed them financially. We still have 99 staff members on giant contracts, which is brilliant because they're still going to have to pay that. And we still have all these bonuses and this really average squad that they still need to pay. The bad thing, though, is I am not in control over transfers. So, because of the transfer embargo and this whole financial crisis, they've just put a bunch of the players up for sale to try and help with it. So, Phil Foden is now listed, Oscar Bob is listed. You guys saw earlier that some of Morgan Gibbs White and Ben Doak are all listed as well. So, these are all players that are listed. I'm assuming they're going to leave the club in the near future. I'm kind of hoping they don't because we have a lot of money in them, but we'll see what happens. I've moved forward to the end of the transfer window, and the people that Man City have brought in to deal with the administration stuff have done a good job. We've sold Phil Foden to Real Madrid for £69 million, rising to £95 million. Oscar Bob has gone to PSG for £70 million. But, I mean, there are two best players. So, I mean, looking at that, we have no 4.5, 5-star quality players anymore. Our best players, Rico Lewis and Mateus Nunes and Jack Grealish, and an old Kevin De Bruyne. So looking at this team, I mean, look at those star ratings. We're so mid. We are so mid. This is exactly the squad composition we're looking for. I am crossing my fingers that we will be good enough to be in the Champions League. But we've gotten rid of our two best players to help with the financial situation. But looking at the financial situation, it's tragic. It is so tragic. Unfortunately, I can't spend this £18 million anymore because of the transfer embargo we're under. But this is the position we're in. Looking at how things are, if we can just get in the Champions League and I can just stay in the job, like the club are in administration, if we can just stay in the league and if I can just keep my job, then we can just continue to put the club in more and more financial crisis and then just eventually just get relegated. Like, just put the club in the most financial crisis as possible and then just get rid of all the players, get relegated, and they would be completely destroyed. I mean, I would get fired doing it. But this is a great situation to be in. The club are in so much debt, the club are in administration, and we are in the perfect position for season 5. At this point, all that is left to do is actually, sorry, real quick, I'm going to show you the tactic. We still have Smith Rowe locked in because of his insane contract. We don't have Phil Foden locked in anymore. But I'll probably lock in maybe Jeremy Doku or someone at some point too, just because we're spending so much money on them. But again, at this point we've done everything we can. The club are in administration, the players are mid, and if we can just sneak into 4th place, we've got 9 points to come back from. But if we can just sneak into 4th place, season 6 will be a lot of fun. But this is what I've got. I'm going to simulate the season. Let's see how it goes. I am back in January for a couple of reasons. First and foremost, I might get fired. So looking at the club vision here, I'm down to a C, and the board is disappointed in me. So I'm coming back because I need to show you guys the changes we are making, because I might legitimately get fired because we are sitting in 7th. We are 6 points off 4th place, and I need to finish at least 4th to keep my job. So we're making some big moves here to make sure I at least get back into those Champions League spots. But the big reason I'm coming back to you all is I don't know what happened. All of the debt is gone. Our overall balance is £604 million. I have almost £200 million in transfer budget to work with, and there's no debt. I I don't know what happened, but the club aren't in administration before. The financial status is rich. The club aren't in debt. It was like overnight. Football Manager just erased everything. It's like the financial doping that Man City are doing in real life somehow came back here. The club somehow randomly just got a £1.88 billion general sponsor for 1 year. I mean, if that's not financial doping, I don't know what is. But somehow getting this sponsor just allowed the club to clear all the debt, and that happened on November 30th, 2028, which was a couple months ago. And all of the debt is gone. All of the 5 seasons of hard work that we've put into this save and just destroying the club has been undone because I feel like the game kind of cheated us. So to be honest at this point, I don't really know what to do. I've definitely learned my lesson here, and I guess I'll touch on that at the end of the season. But the important thing now is I'm gonna get fired, and I cannot get fired and Man City now be rich. After everything we've done, I'm not getting fired right when Man City gets rich again because of some £1.8 billion sponsor. So I need to get City back to fourth place, and we need to work on getting these expectations and things down. But yeah, I've got some work to do. So now I have a big plan for getting back into the Champions League spots, and that is bringing Erling Haaland back to the club. A player who I was so excited to leave the club. Yeah, we've put in a £300 million bid for him. That has been accepted. And if you guys can see here, I'm giving Erling Haaland the contract of his dreams. If he does literally anything, he's going to get a lot of money for it. So anyways, I'm going to play through January because again, we're in 7th. I need to get it to at least 4th. But I don't know what to do at this point because the financial situation is too good. I've moved forward to the beginning of February now, before we simulate the rest of the season to show you guys what I did in the transfer market. But the finances just keep getting better and better. I'm over the wage budget. I spent all £200 million plus of the transfer budget. And it's not working anymore. Nothing's working. Oh man. I have literally almost spent £1 billion of money this transfer windows this season. Looking at who we've signed. We have signed Erling Haaland back. You guys saw that earlier. I've given him a ridiculously huge contract. I mean, we need him. He's already got 5 goals in 3 matches. We need him. I'll show you guys how we're doing now. But we've spent more money. I signed Sandro Tonali, £120 million, because he's pretty good and I need to get back into the Champions League. We needed an English player, so Mark Gahey's come in for 95 million, rising to a little over £100 million. Because again, we just need the players. We've also signed some other kind of random players, just because I needed to use up some of the money. So we signed David Raum here. He's an okay left back, but he fits our mold because he's old, and we're again giving him a lot of bonuses and money. We've also signed this guy, Miguel Mosquera. I know nothing about him, but he's going to waste, and we're just giving him a bunch of money because that's the plan, to just overpay for players and get them money. We signed this guy, Jose, because, again, he's kind of bad, and we're just giving him a bunch of money, and that's kind of the plan. And finally, we've signed this guy, Raphael. Again, he's just kind of bad, and hopefully we're just giving him a lot of money. But the problem is we've spent £1 billion. We're overpaying for all of these players, and it's not changing the finances at all. I don't know what to do here. But again, the important thing is getting back into the Champions League, which we need to do. We're currently in 7th, so we're a bit off the pace. But looking at how we were before Erling Haaland and before the transfer window, we were bad. We got knocked out in the Carabao Cup quarterfinal. We were doing okay in the Champions League phase, where we finished 10th and into the playoff spots. But then we got back Erling Haaland somewhere around this area, and we tied Liverpool 3-3. We beat Newcastle 5-3. Haaland scored a hat trick. Aston Villa, we did well. Leicester, we won 1-0. And Arsenal, we won 1-0 away with Erling Haaland scoring. So clearly the key to doing well is with an average team is bringing in an Erling Haaland. Anyways, this is our situation at the end of the January transfer window. This is one of the strangest seasons I've ever seen in Football Manager, but let's sim to the end of it, and hopefully I'll still have, hopefully we'll be able to continue them the save by me still having a job. We're at the end of the season, and I don't know what to do anymore, guys. We have a giant transfer budget, £367 million. And there is £1.05 billion in the overall balance. And there's no debt. There is literally no debt. It's all just coming in with giant sponsorships. And the biggest thing now, that this is like the definition of financial doping in Football Manager. The board are just getting money out of nowhere. Every once in a while, we'll get this inbox message that the board have confirmed that they've deposited some ridiculous sum of money into a reserve investment fund, and that it allows us to benefit the club in the long term. I have no idea where this money is coming from, but it's literally like the game is just manufacturing this money out of thin air, and it's completely fixed all of the financial problems that we recreated. So now the club, if we go back to the finances, I mean, we're okay, we're rich. We have an incredible sum of money. The income this month is £2 billion. I mean, this is impossible now. However, all is not lost because we're making strides in other areas. The big thing here is we finished in 5th, but we still qualified for the Champions League, even though we were deducted 9 points. So we're still in with a job. And if we look at the club vision here, the important thing that we're seeing here is we're at a nice C+ rating. And next season, we just need to make sure that the team qualifies for the Europa League. Not the Champions League, the Europa League. So the long-term plan here, it is working. The goal here was, one, to financially destroy the club, which we did, and now we didn't. But the second part was, we are trying to slowly lower the expectations of the club. And we are managing to do that. We went from needing to win the Prem to just needing to qualify for the Champions League. And now we only need to qualify for the Europa League. And once again, this season, we didn't win a trophy. We were knocked out in the quarterfinal of the Champions League, knocked out early in the FA Cup, and knocked out in the quarterfinal of the Carabao Cup. As you guys can see this season, we had that really hot start, and then everything kind of went terribly. And then once January came around, we signed Erling Haaland, and we were quite good till the end of the season. Maybe a little blip at the end, but Erling Haaland pretty much saved us. And looking at how everyone did, I mean, Erling Haaland scored 25 goals this season, and he was only here for half the season. He played 18 matches and scored 25 goals. Doku was one of our best players, which is fine because, again, we're paying him serious amounts of money. Emil Smith-Rowe is another one we're paying serious amounts of money to. But looking at the overall quality of the squad, other than Erling Haaland, who's amazing, I don't think the overall squad quality is brilliant, which is good because this is a Europa League squad. And without Erling Haaland, we would essentially be in a perfect position. But the future of this save is interesting, and there's a lot that I need to consider. What direction do we take moving forward now? The last few seasons, we've really leaned in hard to destroying the finances of the club, which we did brilliantly. We did that amazingly. The club were literally in administration, but the game has allowed Man City to do their weird financial doping, and now the club finances are wonderful. But again, the good thing here is that we're lowering the expectations of the club. So I think we start to lean more into the squad stuff again and just continuing to sign kind of meh players, signing really old players, and using that to destroy the club. Because next season, all we need to do is finish in the Europa League. And we have not been not in the Champions League at any point during this save. So if next season we are just in the Europa League and we still keep our job from being in the Europa League, that would be a good move. But anyways, this was season 5 of Destroying Man City. And this was one of the weirdest seasons I've ever seen. From going into administration to now having more money than we could possibly know what to do with. But we'll have to figure something out. We need to continue destroying the financials of the club, and we need to continue just destroying the squad composition. We've really leaned into the finances. Now I think we need to do the opposite. But that was season 5. We still have a job, so we'll continue with this, but it feels like this is a real turning point of this save in a not good way. Football Manager has bailed out Man City, and we got to figure out how to fix that. But anyways, thank you all for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. I hope you all are doing well and taking care of yourselves, and I will see you all very soon. Bye.